getting around to posting this painting that I did. I'm going to show you how you can paint along with me. And I've got my 2 pigs here, where I keep my paints, and this is only some of them, and my brush pig. Got a lot of brushes in there right now. My water. Got these new Daniel Smith paints, and I really wanted to try them out, and I was really wanting to just do a pink and green here, but I did this painting a while ago, so now I can't remember exactly what colors I used. If I used the perylene green, yeah, that's not gonna, anyway, perylene green. I think I might have used a bit of that for the darks, but primarily I used the green apatite, which has a beautiful brown granulation in it, a little bit of brown granulation, and quinacridone rose for the flower. And then, oh, I don't have it right here, but I used the Prima Marketing palette. It's the complexion palette for the center of the flower. So pretty much I just use these 2 colors. So if you have these 2 colors, or you can use any green and pink, like obviously you can use, if you have any quinacridone rose, or just any green really, you can make it work, or a couple of greens if it's not granulating like this. But if you want to get the same effects that I do, you should use the Daniel Smith, because they're granulating, and I'm really taking advantage of that. So those are the paints that I used. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I actually also used, I don't think I used the amethyst, but I think I used a bit of moon glow. I know I used a bit of purple in the flower. I'm sorry, I should be a bit more organized on this one, but I'm posting the video. It's hard to do these videos. So Rhodonite, Genuine, Quinacridone, Rose, Moon Glow, I think I used a bit of that, and then Perylene Green and Green Apatite, but primarily Green Apatite. Those are the colors I used in there, but here's an example of the Green Apatite. It's just beautiful. Sorry, it's out of focus. And some of the dark one, the Perylene Green. Okay, so you're gonna need this book though, or, well, yeah, you're gonna need this book. You can get it on Amazon super cheap, and it's just line art of flower designs. And the flower that I used was this one. So it's the Peony Double on page 15. Now you have to cut this out of the book, and then figure out a way to get it onto your watercolor paper. There's multiple ways of doing that. One, you can, if you're a student, you have no money or light table or anything, you can simply put it up against a window and trace it. Or you can use a light table, or you can sketch it by sight, just copy the sketch over, but it's a lot easier to just trace it. What else? You can also, well, if you have a large enough computer screen, you can use the light from that as a light box. But anyway, oh, and then also you can use artist transfer carbon paper on the back, or you can scribble, make a photocopy of it, or use this, but there's designs in the back. So scribble graphite on the back of it, and then when you put this paper down and you trace with a pencil, it will transfer the carbon on the back to your watercolor paper. So you're gonna have to figure out how to do that. But once you get it on your paper, you can go ahead and paint with me. So this is the Treasury of Flower Designs by Susan Gaber, and I guess I got it on Amazon, so I'll leave a link for you. Okay, so once you have your image transferred onto your watercolor paper, now the fun begins. The hard part is over, and now we get to paint. So I've just put my watercolor paper on a thin sheet of wood here, just to make it easier for me to paint. And it's going to be very simple. I mean, you can use your own judgment as to how much texture you want here, but what I'm doing is, and I'm just doing the same thing over and over, so I'll only speak when I have something to say, and then I'll just let you watch me paint pretty much and paint along, and you can pause the video if you want to do that. But really the concept is you start with clean water and you paint the whole leaf. So you paint clear water or a tiny bit of green so that you can see where you put your water, and then after that you take a little bit of the paint, and I'm using green apatite here, which is an amazing color. I mean, you have to get it if you love watercolor. You have to get it. I'm obsessed. And just mix it into a consistency of not too thick and not too thin, just a good pigment. And then you just take that on your brush and drop it in to the clear water, and the paint will disperse on its own. It will paint the picture for you. Okay, and as you see here, I'm not always using clear water. Sometimes I use a very light green, you know, like basically just the green color, but in a very watered down way, so that I kind of prefer that because I can see what I'm doing, and that's basically creating the lights, you know, and then you leave those lights and then you dot in the darks. So I don't always use clear. Sometimes I use clear, but here I'm using green because ultimately the leaf is gonna be green. But it's varying shades, and the good thing about this green apatite paint is there's brown in it already, so you don't even need to mix any brown in there to get to have a realistic leaf color. It's pretty muted too. So as you can see, I put that light color of green down, and also you'll see throughout my video I left some areas, this takes a lot of editing, but I left some areas the odd time in real time. So right now I'm painting in real time, so it's slowed down, and the other times you can watch it in fast motion. I think it's at 4 speed, but right here I'm painting in real time, so you can get an idea of how long each leaf takes. And as you can see, I'm doing each leaf separate from each other so that they don't bleed into each other. So once I do one leaf, I go on to another leaf across the page kind of thing and let it dry. And then after each leaf dries, you can go in and do a glaze of yellow, very, very light yellow, and just glaze it on and where you want it to glow almost. If you want, it's just a beautiful effect after when all the leaves are done. If it looks too dull kind of thing, because this green apatite is a real mineral, so it like it's organic rock kind of thing, so it can look dull after it's dried. So what you want to do is create a yellow, very light yellow glaze, or golden you could do, that would be warmer depending on if you want it warmer or cooler, and just glaze that over the leaves, and I find it really pops it out. But sometimes I like the muted color too, but that's up to you. But so we've sped up here again, and I'll just let you watch the process until I have something to say again. Okay, so another tip is light rules apply here. So as you can see, the leaves in the background are obviously going to be darker than the front, so you want to create contrast. So all you do is dab more paint and more dark on those leaves, and then like let's say there's a stem in front of the leaf, you want to keep that stem lighter so that it pops out, kind of thing. And I mean, it's really easy. I feel that it can't be screwed up. Like, you basically put a light green down, and then you make your paint a little more pigmented, and you drop that in points and dots where the shadows would be. So I mean, an easy sort of way of thinking about it is you put more dots where the shadow would be when the leaf starts, in the corner, and then it just goes out lighter out to the edge where the sun can shine on the tips of the leaves. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. I mean, really, you just, if you want to think about it in your head, the tips of the leaves are lighter and the inner part is darker, and you just dot more paint in the corner. Or sometimes what you can do is, if the leaf folds over, you want to do it dark under there. Or also another way sometimes it looks good is half of the leaf you make sort of darker, and then half of the leaf all the way down, keep it light. But you want to create some lights and darks, and the green apatite paint really helps with that because it's so granulating and it just travels. So I like dotting it because as you dot it down, it travels itself through the fibers of the paper in a very organic way, and it looks like veins. So it's therapeutic too, to me. And as you see me doing here, I'm raising the paper up. That's because I'm trying to get the paint to travel on its own down the leaf, basically. I like for the paint to travel on its own because it goes in that organic way, rather than if I try to control where it goes all the time. It's very easy to overwork it that way, and it's funny, a painting, you get to the point of it's overworked and you can totally tell. It just has that look. So even the best watercolor artists have that sometimes. It's just that danger that we all come across, but that's just something to practice. It comes with practice and learning to let go. Okay, so here I've switched to my Prima Marketing complexion palette, which I didn't know if I'd get any use out of, to tell you the truth. But those yellows and browns make for great blonde hair, and also the center of flowers. It's really nice, and there's kind of a little bit of an opaque quality to it that I like for the middle of this flower. Okay, so I'm reading your mind. I think I know what you're saying right about now. Well, how the heck do you paint the middle of a flower? Well, this illustration is kind of easier because it's in a plain circle, and there's little sort of nubby things in there that it depends on how much detail you put in with your pencil as you transferred the drawing over. But I didn't put too much detail, but the texture still can be seen. So I really just made it yellow, and then I'm not doing it detailed at all. I'm staying with the same style as the leaves are, which are very organic and painterly is the way. It's not illustrative in that it's very realistic looking. So I literally am just taking a darker orange over that lighter yellow and dabbing it in there, and again letting the paint just disperse in its own way. So you don't have to get all crazy detailed in there and spend hours, because the eye tricks the eye sees the pattern, and it tricks you into thinking that there's detail there that's actually not there. So I hope that helps. The other thing about the center of these flowers is after you've finished painting, you can consider that like the first step of your artistic process. And you can always go in at the very end, which I like to do sometimes, and go in with pencil, crayons, or even watercolor pencils and just draw in some little details, some contrasting details in the center of that flower, and just bring out the detail, and that always really polishes off the painting at the end. And you'd be surprised how doing that in different areas all over a painting just ties it all together. Okay, so for the petals, it is basically the same process, but it's a little different in that you see how almost clear my water is. It's a little more important than the leaves to stay almost clear, because in the petals of the flowers you really do want to keep some of those highlights. You might want them just the faintest of baby pink to show on the tips, so that you can get some good contrast. The leaves are sort of more consistently green, but the petals of flowers really do have some very light highlights. So just be careful to try and preserve those highlights in the petals here. Okay, you see this very this light blue color here. That's ultramarine blue. I think I'm not sure what possessed me to put that in there looking at it now, but I think I changed my mind. It was just too blue for me, but I was probably going over towards purple, so I just didn't mix enough pink in with it there. But going forward, I don't think you'll see a lot of that blue anymore. It will border onto the purple color, but I'll just mix a little bit of that ultramarine blue in with the pink to create purple. So there it is, you see it there. But the reason I wanted ultramarine blue is for its luminous quality. It's just so beautiful. Okay, so here I'm mixing some more quinacridone rose, and I put a little bit of moon glow there at the top, which I end up using instead of the ultramarine blue because it was just too blue. But because I wanted it a little more muted. But I am mixing another pink there in my rose palette. I'm sorry I can't tell you what it is, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, use whatever pinks you have. But basically I end up keeping the palette on a quinacridone rose moon glow, but also like sort of muted purple level. So here I'm putting a very bright glaze of the quinacridone rose as like a swatch of color, like a pop of color, because the moon glow can get very dull and dark. So, and a flower is not supposed to be dull and dark. So as you make this sort of shadow purples, it's easy to go in with a glaze and sort of lighten that up and brighten it up with a brighter color. Okay, here's another example of more glazing. I'm just doing a very light, watery, bright pink over the petals. And you know why? You see how the top left flower there is very bright? I was using a lot of light quinacridone rose and keeping it very light. Well, the other part of the other flower was looking dark and dull. So it's very easy to match them up like that to give the painting continuity. By glazing anything that looks too dull and matching them up in that way. And here I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just doing a light glaze all over in spots that I feel that need it, to make sure that the pinks and the shadows are all balanced all over the whole of the painting. These are really the final touches. Okay, here we are at the end. The painting's finished. I hope you had fun with me. You can certainly go in and touch up with pencil crayons or watercolor pencils and create some more details. I haven't yet, but I wanted to get this video up for you guys, and I really hope you had fun painting with me. And if you liked it, give me a like and subscribe if you feel like doing that. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.